everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Shots Fired podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Schoberg, and this is a law enforcement podcast for everyone. And for those of you who are avid fans and watch the show, you can tell there's a little bit of a difference today in that we're missing Mark. Mark felt that it was more important to go camping, and you brought it up in the bathroom before we even started the show that you're shocked that he has a trailer and knows how to go camping, and I actually thought the same thing. I had to confirm with him that he actually knows how to back that thing up, hook it up to his truck, the whole nine. He says he does. So Mark is out camping. So for all of you out there, he felt that was more important than actually being here and doing this for you. So I brought in two honorary guests. Dan Chip, former police officer, actually worked with Mark. Current Sergeant Dave Neer, who I work with.
Yep.
Thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate it for filling in. So if we want to like bash on Mark for a minute, we can. He's not here.
I think he's an easy target, even when he is here. I would say, what's the over/under on Mark ordering Uber Eats to his campsite?
Oh, it's 100%.
Yeah,
because he's not going to cook.
Right.
He probably doesn't know how to even operate the stove in the trailer.
Yeah. Maybe he's camping with a little bit of leisure. There's nothing wrong with that, though, too.
I mean, I guess so. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's definitely. I mean, I haven't seen this trailer, but I imagine it's like glamping.
Glamping is the
It's
appropriate
nice.
term.
It's a toy hauler. So, I mean, it's just a basic, I don't know, maybe a 24-footer toy hauler.
I can almost guarantee, like, he's got
no toys.
Louis Vuitton sheets. I could almost see that, like very high thread count, Egyptian,
Yeah, I can see
spun cotton,
Yeah.
something like that, and maybe possibly like a butler of some type.
Yeah.
There might be some
that
help.
he put through a background, total background test investigation for sure.
Yeah.
Because he's paranoid like that. But
I can see that.
yeah, I'm probably on par with you on that.
Okay, good.
No doubt.
All right,
But
we've
yeah.
established that.
So good luck to you, Mark. I don't even know if he's gonna watch this, but
Oh, he has a satellite dish. I'm sure of that too. Like he's watching UFC's on today. I'm sure he's watching that, roughing it.
Well, what cracks me up too about him is he buys this stuff, right? Like he bought a toy hauler, and I'm like, dude, what toys do you have to like put in this thing? And he doesn't have any. And then he's like, I'm gonna get something. Okay, it's been a year. He still has no toys, but he did go out. He got into mountain biking, and so instead of buying like do you do mountain biking?
Yeah, mountain
the
bike.
downhill stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have an e-bike or a regular mountain bike?
Regular mountain bike.
Yeah. So Mark
Call
went
me
out.
old-fashioned.
Mark cheated and went out and bought an e-bike for him and his wife, I believe.
All right, right on.
So he cheated, in my opinion.
I think he's definitely staying in a hotel parking lot, and that works out well for the e-bike. Like he's riding around the parking lot, flat level, dry surface on his e-bike.
There's got to be a Starbucks somewhere in the vicinity.
Yeah.
And I could totally see him like, I'm not taking a shower going to the bathroom in this thing. Like, I need to have an actual bathroom and a shower.
And a bidet.
Yeah,
He's a big bidet guy.
Ooh, aren't we all, though? Those
talks
things are just fancy. Once you try it, don't knock it until you try it. Don't knock it until you try it.
All right.
Well, we have a few body cam videos, or a couple body cam videos that we're going to watch that have been going viral on social media, and some good talking points with them. And then we have some topics that we're going to discuss and some questions that we'll answer that the viewers like to ask us in the comments, on YouTube. So we can answer those for you guys. All three of us had a different perspective of this career because we all three have done different things. He was a motor guy, by the way. So be careful.
Copy that. It's good to know.
I was different.
That's what they all say.
That.
I promise. See, Mark's not here to defend me now. Now that I've bashed the crap out of Mark, he would actually defend me on this one. I was different.
I always feel
How so?
Yeah.
Because I feel with motors, there's only like really a strong stereotype, and it's like a one size fits all.
It is, dude.
Okay, I'm not going to argue that. Like, there is definitely a stereotype, and I would agree with it like 99% of the time.
Sure.
So my era in motors was you got a quota, right? Are we allowed to speak the truth here?
Well, I mean, legally, you're not supposed to have a quota.
You're right.
How do you win the TV?
You're right.
Yeah.
So
it's admin's quota.
It was, I think when they got called in, we changed the term to a performance objective. So we had a performance objective every day that just so happened to be 20 tickets a day, right? So they didn't care what they were. So literally, me and a couple of guys on the bikes would go get our 20 really quick. Like if you're good, you could get your 20 done in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then we go hunt for, your dope and guns and gangsters and shit like that. So I was a little bit different. I didn't wear the motor boots or the breeches unless
Yes,
it was
you
like
did.
a
You
parade
had
type
to. You would have
thing.
had to have worn that stuff.
Unless it was like a funeral or some,
Those like super tight pants.
yeah, I don't.
You have to have like a special tool to get the boots on.
In the pants.
In the pants?
Yeah. Unless it was really cold, then they slid right on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is a stereotype for motors for sure. And there's actually a guy who follows this channel who I can only assume he has to be a motor because I want to say his like handle is he always leaves comments like motor unit 6 or whatever. He's always every time we talk about motors, he's always like gets all defensive about it.
That is funny though. Each like section of either the sheriff's office or police department has its own stereotype, whether it's narc, SWAT, motors. Is like, yeah, everyone's got their own little flavor and.
Well, in each unit, whoever it is that does those things, like it's like a group, a certain group of people, and the stereotype is generally always the same.
Fair
for like narc guys, canine guys, SWAT guys, motor guys.
I was a motor guy for like 7 years.
That's a long time.
We're holding this against me. Like we're judging my whole life on those 7 years.
And
I mean a little bit.
And
it's hurtful.
You're an Adam Sandler look-alike.
We're doing this again.
Yeah, I think so, dude. Like, I pulled up the Joe Rogan Experience episode with Adam Sandler, and like, dude, you're like, it's spitting image.
You know, it's
which
weird
is not a bad thing, by the way.
You never see Adam and I in the same place at the same time. Something to think about.
I mean, that's true.
Maybe we are the same.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, something to think about.
So, if anybody from my team watches this, they're gonna be super jealous that I asked you to do this because they're always like, "Oh, when are you gonna have us on the show? It would be so fun." And on the drive over here, I was thinking of that, and I'm like, I just thought like if those dudes that were on my team were on the show, could you imagine like Dennis sitting here? I know you don't know these guys, but I have unique personalities of like all the guys on my team.
For sure.
All super good dudes, like super hard workers, like great cops, but all three of them are so different. Like Dennis would probably be sitting here just like looking around, like totally confused of what's going on. Joe would be squirreling off, like it would probably get up and like walk off mid recording, and then Clock would be sitting here telling you how cool he is, and just ask him like he'll tell you while flexing.
Yeah, he's got some guns on him though.
Yeah, he's a big little stout boy.
He is.
So, anyways, I think they might be a little jealous, but you just mentioned the sheriff's department and police departments. I have a question for you guys. If you could, all three of us come from PDs, and to my knowledge, none of us worked at a sheriff's department, right?
No,
yeah,
no.
We all came from different police agencies. If you could do it all over again, would you guys go sheriff's department or PD?
The turnoff for me, and I think for a lot of people, is always the jail time, right?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I think maybe if there's a way I could work out like a special deal where I don't have to work the jail.
But not all sheriff's departments you have to work at the jail.
That's true.
So some you do, but like where I came from, up in the hills, you didn't. They had correctional officers. No, deputies did not work in the jail.
Really?
Yeah, so you just go roll out to patrol.
Okay, so maybe if that presented itself, maybe. I mean, there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'll stick with what I chose. I'll
Really?
stay PD.
What about you?
Yeah, it's a tough question because I think they're very unique and they have their nuanced like differences. I think as I get older into my career, I think a sheriff's office would be cool. I like to boat. I like to be in the outdoors. I like to hunt. I think search and rescue would be cool.
Yeah.
Like the off-road highway vehicle, like the side-by-sides. That sounds cool. At 22 when I started, I wanted to be on the streets. I wanted to do cop work. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with how my kind of career has progressed. But knowing what I know now, I can't see myself doing anything other than police.
So you would not. So if you could do it all over again, you would still stick with going to a PD.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. I think so. We get asked that a lot. Like people are always asking, should I go to what's the difference between sheriff's department and PD, and should I go here or should I go there? And then they ask us a lot about state police, and I can't even speak on that because California is weird in that a lot of other states, their state police do handle call for services.
Yeah.
Like they actually handle things, right? Where here in California, the CHP, they're strictly, I mean, they have different divisions who do that stuff, but like mainly your highway, a ticket, crash taken report guy.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about that is, I mean, especially in a state our size, is moving all the time, right? You talk to a lot of these chippies that
Yeah, that's true.
They go to the academy in Sac, they go to LA, then they go to like the Bay, then they can come to Sacramento. I think it's just hard to get
It's like a
rooted.
seniority thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you because at the academy, I think you go to like maybe LA or Bay Area,
Yeah.
or, you know, some super high populated area. But as far as the sheriff's department and a PD, like you're either working for it. To me, it all boils down to politics.
Sure.
Like you're working for a chief of police who's hired by a city manager / city council. And,
Sure.
and at the end of the day, like they're there to support the community, and whatever the community is wanting will trickle downhill to the chief of police. So I don't think there's a lot of wiggle room making decisions. I think you can maybe leverage it a little bit and negotiate, but at the end of the day, like you're answering to what they want. And then where a sheriff is voted in by the people, but people also have to take into account, he also has to work hand in hand with the board of supervisors who dictates their budget. You can't have a sheriff who's like butting heads with board of supervisors. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you make a great point of like, do you want to, I guess it depends on like what working environment do you want to be in?
Well, let me, I guess, kind of launch this question then. I think in a PD generally, obviously it's more of a populated area, which means that you're going to have more beat partners. You're going to have more interaction with working with other cops.
Yeah.
And I think if you're more of a social person and more of an extrovert, that's a great spot to be. You know, you can make good friendships that'll last a lifetime. And then the opposite side, some of the sheriff's offices are more rural, right? The population simply isn't there. You don't have backup readily available. And that's a pro and a con. You know what I mean? It teaches you a whole different style of policing, but maybe that social interaction with, you know, your beat partners and just, you know, working with the masses, it's not there.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Dave changed my mind. I mean, the whole sheriff thing, I was like, shit, I could go that way now. The side-by-side and the boat.
That's what I was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm changing. I'm going back. Rural, like Andy and Mayberry with a boat and a side-by-side with Barney, that's what I want now.
Yeah.
Now, if I can get a
changing my
couple
mind.
downriggers and a couple trolling rods on that boat,
I think you'd have to.
I think it's necessary. You have to connect with the community.
Right.
No, totally. And where I came from,
And I'm also trying to connect with the Mackinac trout.
yeah, Dave's a big into fishing. But I like where I came from. I know for a fact deputies who worked out in like super rural areas, and you're by yourself, they would throw in their fishing poles and they're spending a little bit of time fishing while at work. Which I'm not saying
I'm
is
also
a bad
going to
thing.
change my option. I would like to work in that location.
Yeah. Not every sheriff's department is you go lakes and
Yeah.
ponds and rivers and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, we get asked that a lot, so I was just curious if you guys would,
Yeah, good question.
with the experience you have, look back and go, yeah, I would probably have rather gone to a sheriff's department. So a lot of PD guys say that, and then you have sheriff guys who are like, I would never work at a PD.
Yeah, that's usually you know what? That's a good point. Police are more willing to go to a sheriff's office, but like
Yeah.
you'll hardly find a sheriff that would be willing to go to a PD.
And when you do, because I've worked for bosses who went from a sheriff's department to a PD,
Yeah.
you can totally tell like that dude's a deputy at heart, or he came from a sheriff's department because
Is it the cowboy hat that?
no,
tips
it's
it
just
off?
like, dude, they just don't like. I think it's the political stuff. Like
Sure.
they're not all super into the political thing. They're like, yeah, whatever, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
like, I don't know if we can do that. So there's just a difference in my opinion. All right, so there's a couple body cam videos that we wanted to kind of break down that were going on social media. And I think let's watch the one from it's Orange County,
Okay.
Florida, which just came out. Deputy goes to contact a guy behind a store. It looked like it was all fenced in. So a suspicious person, basically. There was a backpack sitting on the one side of the fence that the deputy was on in the parking lot. He goes around the corner, and on the other side of the fence is a male behind the building. And he's like, hey, dude, come over here. What are you doing? Dude jumps back over the fence. It looks like he's cooperating. And then all of a sudden he grabs the backpack, and then all hell breaks loose. So let's watch that video real quick. And then I'm curious on like what your guys' perspective on it, because it does turn into a shooting.
Okay.
And there's actually a lot to learn from this video.
Hey, boss. What are you doing? Come on. What are you doing? Oh, move careful. Hold on. Okay, 5-1. Fuck you doing, bro? Fuck you.
All right, so we just got done watching the video. Like I said, there's a lot to learn from this. I'm glad that the deputy ended up coming out okay on that, because that could have been a disaster. I mean, dude, there's guns flying everywhere on this one.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think? So Dave's into martial arts. What do you train, or what were you training?
Most of my stuff's like Muay Thai or kickboxing.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
I have some grappling background, but most of it's more.
Yeah, and
like
I've been on the
stand-up.
receiving end of that, because I have a permanent scar on my wrist from being in a fight with somebody, and then next thing I know, I'm getting tossed around and getting kneed in the head, back of the head by Dave.
I don't know about that.
I think it was you, dude. So I have the scar to prove it,
Well,
and
you'll
I'm
remember
pretty
me
sure I
forever.
got a concussion, but it's all good. You missed the suspect, and you got me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on the receiving end of that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Fair.
What they're not going to see, though, that I thought was really cool before we started back up was he did like a board breaking exhibition out front.
Oh yeah, we'll show
With
that.
my
That was
headband.
cool.
Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
cool. We can do that
absolutely.
later, and we'll show everybody how cool you are.
Flying
Yeah.
scissor kick was impressive. That's
Yeah.
the concussion.
Yeah,
It's balsa wood, so no
yeah.
big deal.
I've seen Dave throw some knees at people, very warranted, but that's your go-to.
Part of the job,
Yeah, it just happens, and this guy could have used that.
potentially.
So let's talk about this video. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's a couple points that I think are beneficial. I mean, shout out to the cop first and foremost. I mean, he stayed engaged from the very beginning all the way to the very end, right? Obviously, it ended up in an officer-involved shooting, but I guess maybe more of this conversation I'll kind of dive into is more maybe on like the physical aspect rather than the tactics that were employed. But once he ends up grabbing that suspect, it looks like he grabs him like by the, I don't know, maybe the sleeve of his hoodie. And that can be great and all, using people's clothing as leverage, potentially for a takedown or gaining control. But in this case, the guy just kept spinning. So you kind of lose some momentum there. You struggle. That could have been maybe a good spot for some kind of like leg sweep and take the guy to the ground if he wants. Cop's pretty stocky, looks pretty stout. At first, I feel like he had strong momentum through this entire event. One point during the attempted takedown, looks like, yeah. Looks like he grabbed the guy by, I don't know, maybe his shoulders, and then he throws a leg kick right there. Doesn't look too effective, and I think because of that, it's very difficult to like kind of have any powerful strike, especially with a kick. If you can't really turn your hips over, you can't really engage your core. So maybe it's better than nothing, but I think that's why it wasn't, an impactful type blow that potentially would have ended that encounter. The biggest thing that I really want to like touch on though is during this altercation, I feel the officer had a lot of momentum. The fight was in his favor up until one specific point. And that point is after that cop does that suplex style takedown and puts the suspect on the ground, that cop lays on the back of him in a mounted type position. And what I want to touch on at that point is that he's pretty much right on top of him. His head's over his head, his hips are over his hips. And like I said, this is a big cop. He's wearing a significant amount of gear. We know that can add 30, 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And I feel like he has that control, and the guy is pinned. That might be a good spot just to radio, wait for help, because we know that help is coming our way, right? He already put that radio broadcast out. However, for some reason, and potentially it was because that gun comes out, that cop switches from that mounted position and he switches over to more of like a side control type position, which can be appropriate. It can be fine. But the biggest thing that I saw from my perspective of having the luxury of watching it from this air-conditioned room and not getting, assaulted, is that where his weight is, his base, he doesn't have enough weight pinning that guy's shoulders down. Most of his weight is from like his hip area and it's on the concrete, which unfortunately allowed that guy to actually slip out to the right, stand up. And once he stood up, the cop was in a really bad spot. He was on both knees and he was holding on to the guy's, looks like sweatshirt. And at that point, he starts eating shots. He's getting punched multiple times in the face. And we talk about that momentum shift and what that does. And I think that creates a problem. The cop is now definitely on the losing end. Yeah. He's getting hit. He gets slammed. He's trying to get, standing on his feet. The guy slams him down. Looks like he hits the back of his head. He's trying to grab the guy's leg. Fortunately, though, in this case, the suspect decides to run towards one of those like firearms that are on the other end of the parking lot, which allows the cop to get up and do the job that he needs to do, which is impressive after potentially being concussed, not only just being punched, but getting your head slammed on the concrete and then deliver those shots. But that is a key point, the momentum. And I don't think we teach our cops enough, probably nationwide. We tell our cops, go there, handle the call, take control. That's great and all until that momentum or the initiative isn't in your favor. And I think we have to do a better job as a profession of how do you regain that momentum and, initiative back as quick as possible.
Yeah, I think the defensive tactics we're taught as cops is an absolute joke. It's all compliance based. And then, we've talked about before, what happens majority of the time, people are trying to get away from you. And initially it looks like the dude's just he's resisting to get away from the deputy until all of a sudden the tide turned. And then all of a sudden now he's attacking and pummeling the cop. So most of the time I think you both would agree, like when cops say like, oh, I was in a fight, like, no, you probably weren't in an actual fight. Like that's a fight. Yeah. You were trying to overcome someone resisting you to try to flee from you.
That's a good point. Struggle versus fight.
So yeah, but we've always done a horrible job in our profession about teaching cops on how to actually fight, especially ground fighting. Sure. At least when I was taught and came up, was don't go to the ground. It was always like, oh, stay on your feet. Right. Do some type of control hold, and that never worked. Like 100% of the time, you always end up on the ground as a cop, and then it became like, well, maybe we should learn ground fighting, and it was always like, no, we don't teach that. So.
I think there's a lot of agencies now that are making that transition, right?
I think so too, yeah.
And I think it's a good thing, and it brings in folks with different experience and expertise levels to speak to, the common goal that we had as officers, right? Which is ultimately gaining compliance, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually a question that I had for you. There is that, and I think your timing and explanation of it was perfect. When he switches positions to that side mount position, it seems like bad guy here takes that opportunity to switch from flight to fight.
Yeah.
Correct. It's a quick turn that happens there. What's your thoughts on, I know this is maybe bringing up some politics with the job, but ending resistance as quickly as possible. I mean, it seemed like in this, and I'm not bad mouthing the guy at all. I mean, that's a shitty spot to be in, but
I think
could this have been ended a lot quicker instead of grabbing the shoulder by just dumping him?
Absolutely.
Right off the bat?
I mean,
I think he should have done a double leg takedown. As soon as he got up and he's on his knees, like, dude, I would have lunged forward, do a double leg takedown and remounted him.
Sure. And I think there's so much to really unpack with this.
Well, and there's also guns flying everywhere. Guns flying. That's crazy to me.
But I think it all starts to the preparation piece on this. So, and I think that's why I'm such a big proponent of training in some type of discipline. I know Kyle's talked about this, almost every single episode about the importance of training and putting yourself through these trainings, because more often than not, the department doesn't have the time or the funding, regardless of where you work, to do it for you. So, like for myself, I'm more confident, like on my feet and more of a stand-up position. So what does that look like in the field? Potentially, I don't want to go on the ground, because if I'm going against a very sound, like jiu-jitsu type practitioner or something, that could very much be a problem for me. So it's like tactics, right? Put the odds in your favor. And in my case, it would be standing up. There was one point over on the video where the cop had him pinned against the wall. That's a super appropriate spot as well. Because if we can wait, if we know that the radio broadcast is coming and let's presume that this is a populated area and there's probably a handful of other cops working in that beat, you're probably going to have people there within 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. If you can pin him there, hold him, get this guy tired, there's nothing wrong with that as well. So I think you just have to be very intentional with the tactics that you use for what you're trying to accomplish. If the guy is more of the struggle, like Kyle mentioned, and it's not that fight yet, that's totally appropriate. Pin him, do what you need to do, because maybe at that point he's not trying to hurt you, he's trying to flee. But the second that this guy is delivering shots and potentially trying to end your life, you have to assume that's the case. If he's, slamming your head on the concrete, punching multiple times in the face. Yeah. The idea of just pinning somebody, that's out the window for me. And as Kyle mentioned, I mean, you're going to fall back on a level of your training, of your experience to end it as quick as possible, whether that's an elbow strike, a knee, a punch. It could be throwing this guy, into the wall and then slamming him and tackling him. Everything's fair game, obviously, if it's so long with policy and law. But things escalate very quickly, and in this case, it ended up in an OIS. And obviously, it's hard to sit back in this environment and say what if. But I mean, it's kind of the purpose from it, making a growing environment. Could something else happen? Maybe that wouldn't have led to an OIS. I don't know.
Yeah, I think cops are afraid to use force. I agree with you. I think once people start laying blows like that, that dude punched him in the head 10 times. I mean, I think a lot of rules go out the window at that point, and it's fair game. I'm throwing blows too, and I'm elbowing people in the face. I'll do whatever I have to do to survive that, but then to make it uncomfortable for the dude who's trying to beat my ass.
Absolutely.
And I mean, maybe that is pulling my gun and shooting you. If you're losing the fight and I think they said they fought for 1.5 minutes or almost 2 minutes.
That's a long time.
Dude, that's a super long time to be in a physical confrontation with somebody. I mean, you're winded for sure. And you can see the guy gets up, the deputy, he's gassed. And what's wild to me is could you imagine being that guy, the deputy, and seeing a gun fly up? You're like, oh shit. And then another gun fly up and you're like, what the hell, dude? That's pretty scary because now I don't know if this dude's got a gun on him. How many other more guns are there?
Yeah.
They always say
it's like a magician.
There's where there's one, there's two, and you're like, whatever. No shit. And in this case, there really was. But
plus, I think you got to be wondering too. Number one, where did that come from? You're going to have those thoughts in the midst of all this. Was that my gun that just went flying? Yeah. Was that my taser? Yeah. How many more guns do you have? Yeah. That's going to kind of maybe even just that brief second of thought that you're having kind of shifts that advantage over too, right? Yeah. I think a lot of things happen at that transition point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I think it's crazy. The dude gets up and instead of running away, he literally takes his time to pick up the guns. And it looks like he does. Boom. He throws them over the fence for whatever reason. I don't know I don't know if he was going to throw them over the fence, jump the fence, go grab them and run. Yeah. I don't know. But as soon as he went to pick up that gun, I think the deputy was a little dazed and confused, rightfully so. And then he ultimately ends up shooting him. But I'd say, man, as soon as he picked that first gun up, you're good to go.
What's his intent?
Yeah,
he's already
probably just shoot you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you could say, oh, well, he threw the gun. Well, I don't know that. He just pummeled my ass.
How many more guns does he have?
Yeah, now he just picked up the gun. I would assume he's going to use it to shoot me.
Absolutely. And I think that video was hard to watch for that reason. In particular for me was him, making an advancement toward both of those guns on the ground. And then, if you're that deputy laying on the ground, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What did you guys think of the initial response where the cop parked? It looks like, my memory serves me correct, there's about 3 parking stalls. So let's say, 20, 25 feet between where he parked and where he made that initial contact. Do you feel is that appropriate spacing comparative to, let's say, a traffic stop? Would that have changed anything if he could have retreated or if he needed to get his, rifle out of the car or whatever? Or did you think it was appropriate use of cover?
I don't know. I mean, it's a suspicious person call. So, I mean, he's kind of at the corner of the building. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I don't know what his thought process was. He's just going to get out. He's probably thinking he's just going to contact the guy and be like, hey, dude, what are you doing back here?
Sure.
The backpack was sitting on the ground. The only thing I think maybe I would have done different was that parking lot is empty. There's a dude behind the building. I mean, I might want to know what the hell's in that backpack. Ultimately, there ends up being a bunch of firearms in there. But I mean, if you did find that out, now things drastically change, right? But I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's his intent, right? What is he trying to do? It seems like he's trying to sneak up on the guy, like to get an edge on the guy, up until he accidentally, I'm assuming that was accidentally, kicks the can that's on the ground and kind of lets the guy know, hey, I'm here. And at that point, hey, guy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Are there other ways to do that? 100%. I mean, you can use that vehicle to kind of slice the pie around the corner of that building that he's behind. You can come in nose first, right at the chain link where he ends up initially talking to him. But to your point, that's hard for me because we're not in his mind. We don't know what his intent is. Maybe cover's a while away or a ways away, and he's just planning on watching this guy for a minute and getting that time. There's so many variables in there. I think it makes it a really hard question.
Very true, very true. But I think Kyle does bring up a good point about controlling the scene in that bag. I mean, obviously he's not going to go search through that bag and find out what it is, but I think you have to be mindful of you're going to bring somebody over that fence, and obviously that guy took that proactive approach. That bad guy knew what he was going to do. He knew he was going to grab that bag and he was going to beat feet.
Boogie, yeah.
But I think at that point, stop, control the scene. You're going to come over, but you're not going to jump over right where this unsearched bag is.
Yeah.
So, obviously it's unfolding rather quickly. It's, maybe it kind of, like you said, that kicking of that can kind of, preemptively kind of kicked off that contact. But then you got to regain that control and, make it safe for everybody.
Yeah, I think if you're watching, especially new cops, there's a lot to learn in that small little encounter, and that's controlling stuff like, hey, don't bring people around things that you haven't searched. Have him come around, jump that fence at a different spot. And I guess ultimately, if the guy decided to dictate where he's going to jump the fence, and not a whole lot you can do about that. But
fair.
But yeah, just leaving it sitting there and then having him jump the fence right where that bag was, that backfired on him a little bit. I mean, I probably wouldn't have assumed that there was a bunch of guns in a bag like that, but that was pretty wild, dude. As soon as that fight started, it was like fling, one goes there, and then it's like fling, another one goes there, and you're like, holy shit, there's guns everywhere. So anyways, that's a good video to break down. I'm glad the deputy's all right. I thought, given the circumstance, he did a good job, and just goes to show though, like you gotta figure out how to be able to defend yourself or ground fight or do something. And I'm not sitting here saying like, there's a lot of advocates out there who are like, you got to do jiu-jitsu or you're a piece of shit if you're not as a cop, right? Like all over social media,
Very
guys
true.
are saying that stuff, right? Like Joe Rogan is saying that.
Sure. I think it's just become very popular. I mean,
It is.
and I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful discipline for our line of work, but it's not like all encompassing. I mean, does it really help you if you're standing up or some guys, I mean, I think the real probably benefit is more of a mixed martial arts type thing. I mean, maybe there's a judo application or a Thai style application or jiu-jitsu, but regardless, you have to train in something. You have to be competent. You have to be proficient. This world is changing and people expect our cops to solve things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, right? Like my old agency, you got CPT, your annual training once a year, and you might roll around on the mats half-ass at best for, an hour.
Sure.
That's not enough. That's
And your
not
511s and polo shirt and socks.
Exactly. And then you make sure you spray it on the mats afterwards.
Absolutely.
But that's not enough, right?
No, it's not. Yeah, our level of training. Sorry guys,
It's Mark.
yeah, no.
Mark is calling for Uber Eats,
My
which is
daughter was
apparently
trying to call. Yeah, so the level of hours of training we get is absolute garbage. And I think it was you. We're going to release your episode here next week. But was it you that brought up the whole barbers get? It wasn't you.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that.
I see where you're going with that, and that's crazy. but it's
Barbers
true.
and go to cosmetology school. They get way more hours of training than we do to become a police officer, where you're given a firearm. And it is wild to me that every year, like you're only required to just check the box of like certain amount of hours, whether it's at the range, DTAC, whatever. And it's one day. It's like 8 hours of, go to the range, qualify. That's all we need you to do. That box checked. Yet like you go out and carry this thing every day. And I mean,
How about the states though that allow you to go hit the street in uniform and a gun and a badge without even going to the academy?
I know that's crazy.
What do they say? You have a year or 6 months to attend academy in some states.
Yeah. I mean,
One day you're making sandwiches, the next day you're patrolling a district.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know.
wild.
Well, there's another video I wanted to get to before the end of this, and this was a couple officers go to a call for service where a mom calls and says her son's acting erratic. He's in his early 20s. and maybe suffers from some mental health stuff. They go to, I guess, do a welfare check on him, go knock on his bedroom door to talk to him. He comes out and comes out armed with a knife and slashes one of the deputies in the head. So, which also turns into an officer involved shooting. Let's watch that video real quick. It's short, but there's also a lot of good little quick talking points to learn from.
Sounds good.
Okay, so my son, he's been diagnosed as a schizophrenic.
Okay. Where's your son at right now?
He's at the house.
Okay.
And he also has a warrant out for him because he didn't show up for court because he didn't take his medicine, which was a conditional release, which was a condition of his release.
Okay.
The manic episodes are starting again.
I'm sorry. Given us permission to come in, correct?
Yeah.
Is there any weapons in his hand?
Or is there have a knife or something?
He has a knife.
His knife? See, I think he took it from him this morning.
That's cut proof, technically. Okay. When you open that door, don't have him close it. When you open that door, don't have him close it. If you close it, knock again.
TJ, it's the sheriff's office. Come on out and talk to us, buddy.
Got no trouble.
TJ, we just want to talk to you.
Your response spots with him.
TJ, you come out and talk to us? TJ!
That's up. Drop.
TJ! That's up. Drop that. Shit. County, shots fired, shots fired.
All right, so we just got done watching that video. It's a lot shorter. My thing that jumps out to me is two things. One, anytime someone tells you there's no weapons in the house or the room, or, you know, oh, I took all the knives away, like, no.
That's not real.
That's not real. Like, always assume there's a weapon. And I got burned on that one time, taking a DV report. This chick got tuned up by her dude who was on parole. He beat her up with a tire iron. Like, he tuned her up pretty good. She escapes the apartment, runs to like a 7-Eleven, calls us. I'm a patrol guy, go there, take the report. She swears up and down, no guns in the house, no nothing. And we go over to the apartment to make contact with this guy to arrest him. And we're up there beating on the door. He's not answering. Our sergeant was actually on the stairwell, and he's about to ram the door. And he goes, knock one more time. And I'm the guy knocking on the door. So I'm like knocking. And all of a sudden, dude, just boom, he blasts through the front door with a sawed-off shotgun. And like the front door kind of blows out a little bit. We freaking retreat down the stairs. We're putting it out. And then he shoots out the, it was an apartment. So like the sliding glass door was right next to the front door, but on the balcony, because it was a second story. And he like blows the sliding glass door out. I mean, it was pretty wild. He ends up surrendering and whatever. We get him into custody. But huge lesson for me to learn on that was, number one, I'm thankful to be alive, because pretty sure had the sergeant not said, let's knock one more time, we would have booted that door, rammed it. And I don't know, getting shot point blank in the face with a sawed-off shotgun is not a good day.
Right.
But more so than that, like that I really took that to heart because I was like, holy shit. Like, I would have done things different had I not just assumed that she's saying, yeah, there's no guns in the house. So anyways, quick story. Don't ever believe that.
Yeah, facts.
And then secondly is like, the kid's got a mental health issue. I would be asking like if a crime was committed, and really if not, I think in today's day and age, you really got to have some discipline to just not go poke the beehive. Like if you don't need to be there, don't go be there. Don't put yourself in a position where like in this video, you know, you get stabbed and then have to shoot this guy when I think you said earlier, like, hey, could this have been a phone call? Like drop a phone call to that dude.
Yeah, I think as cops, we a lot of times do this very, all or nothing type of approach. And I think as the times change, and I think there's been recent case law on the West Coast over here with this, like you said, slow it down. What is the urgency? Yeah, he might have a mental health episode. That sucks. I feel for the family. That's difficult. But do we need to go there immediately and just take her word, walk right into the house and just try to go talk to this person face to face when he's essentially barricaded in this room, experiencing some kind of crisis? Why? What's the urgency? That's where I struggle with that. And perhaps you just don't walk away immediately or say, hey, sorry, I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
But maybe you meet with the family, you're off site. Looks like she's driving somewhere, maybe a parking lot. All right. Does he have a phone? No. All right, cool. Maybe it's a PA announcement then. Hey man, we hear you need some help. Come out. We want to talk to you. If he tells us to kick rocks, whatever, sorry, we did our best effort. We tried to call him. We did a PA announcement. We provided the family with some resources. Maybe there's like a mental health diversion. As long as you're doing something, I think that's a win. But I'm also very cautious about putting our cops in a position where they're either going to get hurt themselves or in a case like this, potentially, lead up to an OIS.
I think that's definitely been a positive generational change, through most organizations, just in our short careers, right? Absolutely, we're going to that 20 years ago, all day long.
Yeah.
And now, with technology advancements and then learning through our mistakes, to use that term, mistakes in the past I feel is resulting in a lot more safe contacts or reducing the amount of unnecessary contacts, which ultimately is saving lives.
Yeah, dude. 10 years ago, you're going into that room like, oh, you want to hurt yourself and you're barricaded in your house. I don't think so. And you'd be booting that door down and going and ripping people out of there.
But I think that's where agencies do a good job now too, of like embedding, mental health professionals too. Having that, I mean, there's a referral that's there. Some of them, like at our agency, they ride with us too with some of the patrol guys. That's a huge benefit, So when you're out there, it's like, how do you maximize your resource? How do you keep our cops safe, people in the community safe? That's our job. But like the game has changed, and all it takes is one bad incident where we created the exigency, and either a cop gets killed or someone dies or someone's getting sued, and those are things that potentially could be avoided.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then lastly, when they do go in the house to contact the guy, like Miley, I guess advice or whatever would be, they're like knocking, the door's open, he's not coming out a little bit. My little red flag probably is going to go up and be like, that's weird. What's he doing? And then he finally does come out, and he comes out with a knife. The deputy's got really no option. He's got nowhere to go. He's got to backpedal, and you're not going to stop that threat by the time he reaches you. So he slashes the deputy in the head. Luckily he'll be okay. And then he ultimately shoots that guy. So my only thing would be like, if you're going to contact that dude, like maybe knock at his door, but stand off in the hallway. Like don't stand right in the threshold of the door, so that when he does come out, you've got nowhere to go. That would be it for me. But
or what about the cops opposing on both that those two doorways that are adjacent to that room? In that case, I mean, shots are fired. The suspect comes and he's in between them.
Right. Like a crossfire?
That's a huge crossfire situation. Maybe you kind of, you go talk to the guy, or like you said, stage down the hallway a little bit. Hey man, we're in your house. We want to talk to you. If you don't have a crime, how far are you going to push this anyway?
Yeah.
So like, what's the reason for being right up on that door?
Yeah, I would call him out. And if he doesn't want to come out, I'd be like, all right, dude's not coming out. He can clearly hear us. The door's open. Give yourself some space is what I guess what we're saying.
For sure.
Time and distance, right? That's always the thing. Time and distance is always to the law enforcement advantage, right? This video for me, once it started, I'm like, man, I've been on this call 5,000 times. I think we all have, right? And just fortune or luck or happenstance, whatever it may be, like ours didn't turn out this way, you know, in those 5,000 times, but that potential was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a shitty situation, man.
Well, it's like they say, you know, 9 out of 10 times it'll always go in your favor. But then the one time, like this is the one time when he decides to come out with a freaking knife and stab the deputy. So anyways, all right. Well, before we wrap this up, I have a couple more questions for you guys. And that would be, what was your guys' go-to? Well, first of all, did you ever work graves?
Oh, yeah.
You did? Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Well, because Mark never worked graves. He's like, I don't work nights.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about him.
Yeah. He always had to work days or like swings if you're lucky.
He had banker's hours his entire career.
Yeah.
9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
So again, bashing on Mark, like, dude, how do you not want to work graves as a cop? Like, you were a graveyard guy.
Yeah, up until a couple months ago.
Yeah, and when you turn 48, that's a little rough.
58.
For you, so. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the older you get, it does get more challenging. But yeah, I spent most of my career on graves. So what was your guys' like go-to gas station snack? And don't tell me you were some little fit guru, like, oh, I packed my own lunch.
Well, I did towards the end, but that's saving money for the family. Snack on duty.
Did you have like a 7-Eleven?
Well, it depended on
or did you have like a favorite gas station you always went to?
Oh yeah, totally. If you're working South Sac, right? It was Dave's Market. It was at 24th and Florin, 25th and Florin. That was the go-to, man. You had to go into your, business check a couple times a night, grab your coffee that you definitely paid for, and check in with the guys and
no
stuff like that.
gratuities here.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I remember Dave's Market had like a big jar of pickled pig's feet. So that was our game every time I went to Dave's Market, was trying to, like, offering folks that were coming in, the normal customers, I'll pay for the pig's foot for you.
That's disgusting.
You just got to eat it. And I probably tried that, I don't know, maybe 36 times over the course of years working down there on graves. And only one time did anybody take me up on that.
Really?
And they just kept eating them. Like, it got costly for me, even with my special cop discount. But it was impressive.
Pig's feet?
Pickled pig's feet, dude.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it was foul.
Yeah.
That's me paying people to eat it.
Yeah.
All right, so pickled pig feet was your go-to?
I definitely did not eat it, but I enjoyed it.
You're a liar. You're a liar, dude. You ate it.
So many.
That's gross. What was yours?
Mine's not that interesting in comparison to that. I'm just called me old-fashioned. Ghost energy drinks. Up until recently, best flavors, hands down. And then probably jerky.
Yeah, beef jerky.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
teriyaki.
Mine was always an energy drink, and it was a 7-Eleven, like a particular 7-Eleven that I still go to this day.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
And your Jack in the Box tacos.
Yeah, dude, for sure. In the middle of the night. And maybe sometimes a chocolate milkshake from there.
All right.
Yeah, 3 a.m. chocolate milkshake from Jack in the Box. It was pretty
wow.
spot.
You can still do that? If I eat a chocolate milkshake, no matter what time of day, I'm paying for it now.
Yeah, you're going to make a chocolate milkshake.
Exactly. It's the same going in as out. Yeah, dude, I can't handle that anymore. Half of the shit I used to eat it,
I think that's 90% of what I eat. So I'm just like,
whatever. Chocolate milkshakes?
Yeah, well, like anything that I eat is, I'm making milkshakes out of it in my stomach.
All right, good.
So it doesn't really matter to me.
Efficient.
Yeah.
Right. Fair.
But yeah, I would go to that 7-Eleven energy drink, and then I would actually get the little bags of like the spicy 7-Eleven spicy pickles, like the little slices. Those things were freaking bomb, dude. And I'm not even a candy guy, but maybe I'd grab like a little candy or something. But
and still have a six-pack. You make me sick.
I definitely have my go-to gas station. Even if I didn't work in that area, like I would always find myself like going to that gas station way out of the way.
You would find a reason to cross sector for spicy pickles, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know why. I just like, it's like my comfort zone walking into that particular gas station.
Home away from home.
Yeah. So anyways, what's last on the list here was, what was your music choice in the patrol car cruising around?
I absolutely was a music guy. And even my time in motors that you guys were scathing me about earlier, I had to have music. So I rewired one of the speakers on my motorcycle from the radio to actually playing like an MP3 player onto it, which is pretty cool. It depended on mood, man. Like I was one of those guys like you. I'm sure you worked as much as you could, as long as you could at all times, right? So coming in after working like an 18-hour shift, I'm throwing down some Rage Against the Machine. I'm throwing on some, gangster rap, something like that. And then, as the night dwells on, or I need to calm myself down, I was never opposed to throwing on some like chill reggae or Hawaiian music or something like that. But yeah, I had to have music all the time.
Did you play some music or play some tunes for people on the way to the jail? Like, hey, dude, like, what do you like to listen to? And
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. That was one of my favorite things to do too, like doing a transport. Like, hey, I got the boombox here because we didn't have like the fancy. Some of you departments out there have the fancy radios in the dash and stuff like that. So I carried like this big ass white boombox, right? And that was my favorite thing to do. Like, give me a theme here, I'll get some music rolling for you. Up until I stopped doing that, I was on Graves in South Sac, and we had a homicide wanted somebody transported to the jail. So my number got drawn. I go down there, pick up the dude, and he's squirrely, right? Like something's up with this dude. Figure he's not there for good reasons when I'm doing a homicide transport, right? But trying to kind of like find a common ground there. I'm like, hey, what music do you want? No. Kept going. I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm going to pick for you. So I picked some music. I don't remember what it was. It was probably something angry. And we got all the way down to Joe, and he was just getting more and more tense as we went, right? And
what a shocker.
Right.
Yeah, he's only going to jail for homicide. Like, yeah, he doesn't want to listen to music.
Right.
This guy,
Exactly.
he seems ornery.
Right. Well, it turns
You're
out
being
like
a real jerk, man.
after I dropped him off, I called the homicide guy. I'm like, dude, your guy's weird. Like, what's the deal with him? Like, he's like, how's he weird? I'm like, I'm trying to play music for him. He's like, bro, tell me you didn't play music for him. I'm like, no, I did. He's like, he lives in an apartment or lived in an apartment, and his neighbor was blaring music.
Oh, no.
And he ended up killing the guy over the music. I swear on everything, I had no idea that was the case. But after that, man, I was like, maybe we don't do music when we're doing transports anymore. But that's kind of wild.
Dude. That's
I made it out.
Big oopsie.
Yeah.
You're like, got it.
Lesson learned,
Yeah.
no music.
Oops. And you're boring. You said you don't even listen to music.
I can't.
That's crazy.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I don't listen to any music. I just can't listen to the radio music. Too much stuff going on. The computer, no. I have put on music for some arrestees. I think Akon Locked Up is always a classic, and for some reason they appreciate it.
Right.
You know, you really set the theme, you know, for what they're about to experience, and yeah,
I'm locked.
yeah, I'm serious. They love it. If you haven't done it, try it.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm the same, dude. I'll listen to like hip hop, freaking some gangster rap.
Yeah.
You're a big Prince guy
Country.
too, right?
Oh, totally, dude. Yeah, for sure, Prince.
I always hear you singing Little
I was
Red
crying
Corvette.
when he died. Yeah.
Purple Rain. He knows every word.
Yeah, no, I gotta have music on while I'm cruising around, dude.
Can't do it.
I would say this: if you get into a pursuit or something like that, make sure you turn that off because that'll be on camera. So,
Yeah, been there, done that. That's for sure.
anyways, well, shoot, guys, thanks for popping in here and
Thanks
doing
for
this
having
with me
us.
today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mark
thanks,
was a
man.
huge disappointment. So,
I think he is in most aspects of his life.
yeah,
really.
no, for sure, he is. His beard's pretty disappointing.
I can't even joke about that. He's got an amazing beard, and it makes me jealous. I miss mine every time I see red.
Sometimes before we record, he sits here and he just like strokes it. I'm like, ugh, what are you doing, dude? He's probably got some of that on his microphone that you're using.
The red 8-inch long hairs. Yeah, that's Mark's beard.
No, he's actually all stressed out and wound up usually before we record. So, anyways, all right. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I just appreciate you having us and another fun episode.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys. We'll have to have you guys pop in more often. But
I'm going to piggyback on that. Thanks for everything you do. I really appreciate
Yeah.
being here. You know, having the mic here in front of us has been awesome, and keep it up, man.
you just
I'm
want
enjoying
to
it.
you just want to be on camera and get like a asked to do an Adam Sandler. Like, dude, maybe you could be his double.
We're going Adam Sandler again. Yeah.
I think he lives up in Coeur d'Alene area, so I'm feeling like a dude's
Does
trip
he?
up there. We're gonna play it off, a little undercover assignment.
Right.
I see free drinks in our future.
Yes.
He's probably
And-
watching this and he's like, dude, you just told people where I live.
Yep.
Right.
Does he really live up there?
Yeah,
No kidding.
compromised.
Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. People.
We would get along with him, I feel. Like
Yeah,
it wouldn't take
totally.
long and we'd bond. And
Yeah.
we'd probably be in Happy Gilmore 3 when that comes
Probably.
out, likely.
Yeah, we need to find a celebrity who's like into the whole cop thing and have him on. We already chatted, which after the 20s, after next week, we'll have your episode out that talks about the shooting of Tara Sullivan, your trainee that was shot and killed. That's going to be that is a great episode. So make sure you guys pay attention when that comes out. But we were talking about Theo Vaughn,
Yeah.
Theo Vaughn's podcast. So we're going to we're going to be in Nashville in August. I don't know. We got to have our PR guy like reach out to him and be like, Theo,
And again, like
gotta
that,
have us on. You know
that was
Theo?
my.
Wow, yeah, he's epic.
Mark didn't know who he was, dude.
No.
He said he was a skier.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, he likes to ski. I'm like, dude, you don't even know who he is.
Yeah, I saw his interview with Trump.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
he
great.
just did another one with the vice president.
Yeah, I
it's
saw that
really
too.
good. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I told these guys about that's a great podcast. And then I automatically got uninvited to go in there, and they're going on a trip
Yeah, we
and
hijacked
hanging
that
out with
idea.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
He
But they
thought
told me I
you
could
get-
like vacuum in here and
Yeah,
stuff.
thank
while
you
they're
for your
gone.
service.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna try to steal Theo. So because he has like normal people on his podcast, which people seem to really enjoy. So I thought about maybe starting another podcast and just inviting like ordinary like blue collar workers and like just share.
Yeah, it's like that Mike Rowe Dirty Jobs or whatever.
Yes.
It's a good show.
Dude, listening to some of those people and like hearing their story of like a garbage truck driver, like he had like a teacher on. She was pretty freaking hysterical. Or she wasn't a teacher. She was a lunch lady at a school. She was hysterical. But
I want the guy that fixes the bowling pin picker upper thing. I think that would be thrilling.
There's a bowling alley next door. Did you see that?
I did.
Well, you know that.
Yeah.
You live over here.
I think there's your end right there, dude. It's 200 yards.
I know a guy.
Do you?
No, we can probably figure it out though.
It won't take long
Yeah.
to find one.
Yeah.
What do you think when you first walked into the studio, like in the compound area? Like you were in Hawaii?
Yeah, that's great. Is that putting greens in the middle?
Yeah, dude. I wish everyone could see like outside of like the studio, like what it looks like.
It's an
Because
upgrade.
It legit, like we're in an office building.
It looks like the
Within
FBI
studio.
building.
Right.
Yeah, and then in the courtyard is like it looks like Hawaii.
Yeah, there's waterfalls and
Huge waterfalls. There's like I don't even know how many putting holes out there. At least
I think it's a
9.
9-hole putting course,
Yeah.
but like with sand traps and everything.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's, we should go down there with some beers and just like go sit on the waterfall. We'll take pictures of ourselves and it's like
Yeah.
coming at you from Hawaii. you
yeah,
know?
exactly from the tropics.
Nobody would even
Costa
know, dude.
Rica.
Nobody
You had
would
me at
even know.
beers. I'm ready to do that right now.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll end this. I appreciate both of you, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.